let's barrel the question down to something a little bit simpler, because I think all of us are still in a complete state of confusion. I tried to ask Peter King this yesterday. We'll play that for you, what he said in his answer, but I want to ask you this, and we want to ask everybody listening. What happened? What happened here? 5-0. Everybody's number one in power rankings. Super Bowl or bust.
Right.
Eagles, we got something for you.
Right.
Maybe 17-0 if a couple of things break the right way. F Dallas, Micah Parsons, it'll be worse if we play you again tomorrow. All of that. 5-0. And they haven't won a football game since. What in the hell happened? How would you answer that?
Well, yeah, I think that the 49ers have had this issue all going back to training camp, going back to the preseason, where they're not as good against the run. And nobody tried them. They beat the Steelers 30-7 in week 1. Najee Harris is I love Najee. His agent's a buddy of mine. The Niners took him away by getting the lead in that game, and Najee's not that dynamic. Week 2, the Rams ran Kyren Williams at him.
They did run. And
week 3, there was no Saquon Barkley.
Thank you.
So there was no Saquon. Week 4, they knew they had James Conner, and they really loaded up and shut him down. Dallas is a one running back team. They got into that Browns game, and the Browns started running the ball. And they had a great game plan. Kareem Hunt was really good. Jerome Ford was shut down for the most part until he had that big 20-yard run, I think, in the fourth quarter. But the Browns ran the ball, and they kind of showed that if you commit to the run against the 49ers, and they did. They had 34 rushing attempts for 160. They almost ran for 5 yards a carry. That if you stick with it, that this run D is susceptible. And then the next week, the Vikings came out and they mixed in the run, and then Kirk Cousins took advantage of soft coverage and completed a high percentage of his passes. In this game, the Bengals had not been running the ball at all. I mean, really, Mixon had been going for under 3.5 yards a carry in like 3 of the 4 games going into this game, and they ran it. They ran it effectively. Even Burrow ran it, and he played pitch and catch against their soft coverage. And I just think there's really a couple things at work here. The Niners are struggling to stop the run. The coverage that they have is not that tight. They don't have that. They've lost their swagger on the defensive side of the ball
completely. And
that mystery of like, oh man, this is a hard-hitting defense. This defense is going to leave you, licking your wounds a week later. Not so much. And they really do miss, Jimmy Ward was like a linebacker. Jaquiski Tartt was like a linebacker. Azeez Al-Shahir was a tremendous run defender. Samson Ebukam was excellent at setting the edge. All these guys are gone. They're all gone. And when you take those guys away and you don't replace them with similar players, I don't think the personnel is as good. So, and then, I really think the Niners struggle against stopping the screen passes, but that really hasn't even shown itself that much yet, because when you're running the ball as well as you are, and Joe Burrow's completing 90% of his passes or whatever it is, 80%, you don't need to throw screen passes. So, I just think the 49ers have some issues right now. And then turnovers in the red zone. I mean, Brock, McCaffrey, some of the fumbles, the interceptions, not having Debo, not having Trent, those things haven't helped. But if you said, what's the real issue? I don't think they ever really established themselves as a great stop-the-run defense like they did a year ago.
I would like to update our guest list.
Yes, please do.
I had mentioned that Jason Luckenfor is going to join us. So that'll be at 4:15. Joe Theismann will join us at 3:15.
Nice.
Joe Theismann for Heisman is going to be on in less than an hour. He will have, I'm sure, insight on Chase Young. He will have insight on Brock Purdy, for sure. Joe still follows the game very closely. Excited to have Joe Theismann on. So that is coming up in a little bit as well. We'll take your calls. How would you answer that question? What the hell happened? 888-957-9570. I'll agree with a lot of what you're saying. I do think Steve Wilks is tinkering too much. A little bit more faith needs to be given there. But you said a couple of times earlier, they are not playing complementary football. I know you mean that both within the defense and defensively and offensively. As I've described it, maybe less eloquently the last couple of days, the right hand and the left hand are not shaking. They're not fitting together right now, as you sort of said. Those coverages that are being called are too loose for a team like the Cincinnati Bengals or the Minnesota Vikings. And if you're going to go a little bit blitz heavy at times, but then you're going to have too much space in coverage, it's easy for a good quarterback to pick you apart, and instead ended up with 3rd and 7s. You're getting a lot of 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s, and it's sending the whole game script in the wrong direction. And then when that offense turns the ball over, you get down by 2 scores instead of 1, and now you are really, really up a creek. What I also find interesting, though, and this is when I'll play what Peter King said when we asked him, 5-0, then 0-3, what the hell happened? How do you go from that team to this team? Have you noticed, whether it's Peter King with what I'm about to play for you, or Las Vegas, Nevada, everybody thinks the Niners are going to figure it out. I don't know if they will, but right now, everyone thinks the Niners are going to crack this code because they are still one of the top 3 Super Bowl favorites at every book. And in fact, with the acquisition of Chase Young, in some books, they are still the Super Bowl favorite on a 3-game losing streak, and had a team just bust 31 in their home building a few days ago. I don't know if it's injuries. I don't know if it's just, gosh, this roster can't be bad for that long or what have you, but everybody thinks they're going to figure it out. Here's what Peter King said.
I am still really bullish on the 49ers. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I believe the 49ers will be in the NFC Championship game. I don't know if they'll win it, but I believe they'll be in the NFC Championship game. The players on that defense are too good. The offense is too good. And particularly, I think, and I probably like the quarterback more than most, I've just seen the quarterback make too many good plays too often to think that he is what he is based on 2 bad second halves.